Writing inequalities. So, where should we start? I'll tell you what we're going to start with, solving these equations. So I want you to find out the value of the letter in each one. You might need to go back and just remind yourselves of how to do these. I will obviously give you solutions in a minute, but I want you to have a go at these, pause the video, have a go, unpause when you're done. Okay, we've unpaused. Now remember, we're doing opposites here. Now, for example, this first one, this is a one-step equation. It's only going to take me one step to find out what the value of x is. And that comes down to what this means. 5x means 5 lots of x. Now, I don't want 5 lots of x, and all of them will be the same value, so I split it into 5 pieces. You divide it by 5. So if you've got a number touching a letter like that, it means times, so we do the opposite, we divide. 5x divided by 5 will leave me 1x, and we always write that as just x. Okay, we can see there's one of them. 45 divided by 5 is 9, because what you do to one side of the equation you must do to the other. And when I'm talking about sides, I mean like 5x is one side of my equation, 45 is the other side. It's either side of this equals sign, that thing that means they're equals. And you need to keep them equal. So whatever you do to one side, you must do to the other to keep it equal. And the answer in this case is x must be worth 9. Okay, y. Take away 9 equals 21. Well, if I want to know what y is, I'm going to need to add 9, because 9 take away 9 is nothing. It sort of cancels out and just leaves y on its own. But of course, I must do that to both sides of my equal sign to find out that y equals 30. Now we've got a two-step equation here. I've got 2x plus 3 is 13. So whatever x is, whatever that's worth, if I double it, then add 3, I get 13. Now deal with that number touching the letter last, always last. Deal with this number here that's sort of on its own first, because that's a bit easier to deal with actually. Now 3, take away 3, leaves nothing. So 2x is now left on its own. And 13 take away 3 is 10. We've done the same thing to both sides, so it's still equal. And we've got a number touching a letter here. So we always divide by that number to get x on its own, just 1x. 2x's divided by 2, you've got 1x. But we'll also do that to the other side as well. 10 divided by 2 is 5. Same thing here, deal with the number that's on its own first. You deal with that number touching the letter last. 7 take away 7 leaves nothing, so 6x is left on its own. 59 plus 7 is 66. Now I don't want 6 x's, I only want to know the value of one of them, so divide by that number touching the letter. Split it into 6 equal pieces, each of which is worth 11, so x must be worth 11. Here we go, another one. Deal with the number touching the letter last. So we're going to take away 3 from both sides. 3 take away 3 is nothing. So we're left with negative 4x. Minus 25 take away 3 is actually negative 28. If you put negative 22, well, think about your number line. If you start at minus 25 and you're subtracting, let's put a little number line in. It says minus 25. If I'm subtracting, I'm always going to the left, which means I would get to minus 28 if the tablet was working there and letting me write, which it isn't. And that looks very unneat, so I'm going to get rid of it. Let's just get rid of those bits and pieces there. Okay, back to the pen then. So I now need to divide by that number touching the letter. Now that number touching the letter is not 4, it's negative 4. So I'm going to divide by negative 4. Divide by negative 4. Negative 4 divided by 4. Well, basically, a number divided by itself just leaves 1, so that is now just x, 1x really. Negative 28 divided by 4. Well, 28 divided by 4 is 7, and a negative divided by a negative leaves a positive, so it's actually positive 7. Cool. Well, I hope that kind of reminded you of some solving of equations. Let's move on and look at inequalities. Particularly start with writing inequalities. What is an inequality? That's the first thing. Well, previously, all our equations have had a single solution. Well, what do I mean by that? Well, all of them had something like this, x is equal to 2, right? And this literally means x has the value of 2, nothing else, just 2. You know, and we had another one where x was equal to 7, or we might have had x is equal to 5. See, all of these things just have one single solution, nothing else. Now, inequalities have a range of answers, not just one single solution, but a whole range of answers, and it's something like this. And you might have seen these symbols before. X, funny, some people call it a crocodile mouth, and then a 2. Now, what this means is that whatever is on the left-hand side of this symbol is bigger than the thing on the right. And this particular one means that x is worth anything higher than 2. Now, that could be 2.1. It could be 7. It could be 9. It could be 100,001. It could be all sorts of things. It could be 2.000001. It's literally just anything that is bigger than 2. And we'd say this symbol, usually we'd read this as x is greater than 2. Now, it's important with these symbols to think about, if you're not sure, look at which side is more open. This side on the left is bigger, it's more open than the thing on the right, which means the thing on the left-hand side is bigger than the thing on the right. X is greater than 2. Right? Now, you could actually write this the other way round. It's a bit confusing, but you could actually write it like this, because look at the symbol. I've got an x and a 2. Now the symbol's the other way round, but because I've swapped these, the side that's bigger is now on the right, but that's where the x is. So this actually still means x is bigger than 2. But you could say, of course, that 2 is less than x. Confusing? Not really. Just look for the side that's bigger, and generally we'd read it this way round: x is greater than 2, which of course could be the other way round. And of course on this one, the pointy end is at the x, isn't it? The small end, and the big open end's on the 2. This one actually means that x is anything less than 2. So for example, 1.9, or 1.99, or -2, or -8, or 0. I mean, literally anything as long as it is less than 2. And that's exactly how we'd say this one: x is less than 2. Okay. But you might have seen those ones. You might have even seen the next ones, because we're going to throw something extra in here. Just a little bit of extra ink on our sign. This. Now this one means that, once again, x could be, 2.1, or 3, or 8, or 9, or a billion, whatever we want. But also, this extra line underneath means that x is greater than or equal to 2. So actually, in my list of things for this one, 2 is included. Basically, x is either 2 or anything higher than 2. It's just like this first one up here, except we've got a bonus bit of the other line, which means that x is not just potentially bigger than 2, it includes 2. Remember, this goes back to our thing of inequalities represent a range of answers, not just one solution, but a whole range. So the range of these two solutions is pretty similar, except the bottom one includes 2 because it has this extra line on the symbol. And we read this as x is greater than or equal to 2. That's what the extra line means. And you kind of, if you look at it, you can, think of this bottom bit as making an equals sign. And this, similarly, this one over here means that x is less than or equal to 2. So it's again just like the top one, everything less than 2, so it's just like that, except we've now got the bonus thing of my list of numbers also includes 2. So what did I have before? 1.9, 1.99, 0, I think I said -7 maybe. But also in my list of numbers I would also include 2 because we've got this extra line. So that means x is less than or equal to 2. Okay, it's just like an extra bonus number in my list of numbers that x could be. Right, so x is a whole range this time. So let's just sum that up a little bit. We've got 4 symbols. We've got this one, which we call less than. So the thing on the left is less than the thing on the right. We've got this one, which is greater than. So the thing on the left is greater than the thing on the right of the sign, or greater than, basically bigger than. And then on the first one, we've got this. If you've got the extra line, it means less than or equal to. So the thing on the left is less than or possibly equal to the thing on the right. And then this sign means greater than or equal to. So it's just like the top one there, greater than, but includes the actual number itself, the equal to. Right, you'll get used to these, don't you worry. Once again, remember, they represent a range of answers, not just a single solution. That's basically all that's different here. So let's look at this. So 5 and 4. Now, which particular symbol do I need? Well, 5 is bigger than 4. So I use the greater than symbol to show that 5 is bigger than 4. How about 11 and 11.5? Well, 11 is definitely smaller than 11.5, so I use less than. 11 is less than 11.5. 0.105 and 1.15. Well, 1 point something is always going to be bigger than 0 point something. So again, I need it this way round to show that 0.105 is less than 1.15. And -7 and -4. Now, quite often people get this the wrong way round. Now, -7 is actually smaller than -4. Think about your number line. There's 0, there's -4. -7 is further off to the left, which means it's smaller than -4. Okay, right, your turn then. So here are 8 for you to do. Some need a little bit of calculating. I want you to pause, write these out. Make sure you do write them out. Don't just do that in your head. Put the correct symbol in and then unpause when you're done. And we are only using either less than or greater than. The less than or equal to and greater than or equal to, we will use another time. Okay, for now it's just less than or greater than. Okay, unpause when you're done. Okay, so 3 and 9. Well, 3 is definitely less than 9. -3 and -9. Well, -3 is further to the right on your number line than -9. It's bigger than -9. 5.34 and 5.33. Well, the 5.34 is definitely bigger than 5.33. Not by a lot, but it's bigger, so that it counts. 12 and 12.01. Well, there's no decimals after the 12, so that's going to be smaller than 12 with any decimals after it. So 12 is less than 12.01. Okay, up here, 3 with a little 2 means 3 squared. That's 3 times 3, which is 9. Now 10 is bigger than 9, so it's 10 is greater than 3 squared. 5 plus 7 is 12. And this is 12.4. Well, 12 is definitely less than 12.4, so we put a less than sign in. Now 1.6 take away 1. Well, it's not tricky maths, is it? 0.6. What about 2/3 though? What's that equal to? Well, that's actually equal to 1.6 recurring. Now, that's not the same. Sorry, not 1.6. What are we talking about? 0.6, sorry. Should we rub that out and redo that? That's a bit embarrassing, isn't it? Just redo that. Didn't mean 1.6 at all. Silly me. So this is 0.6 recurring. It's 2/3. Which is 0.666, etc., 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 right? Those 6's go on infinitely. Now, 0.6 is definitely smaller than that because there are more numbers after the first 6 here. So we put in a less than. 1.6 take away 1 is less than 2/3. And this one doesn't really matter what the decimal is. We've got a negative and a positive. A negative number is always going to be less than a positive number. Okay, onwards. So we have some more for you to do. Put some either the less than or greater than symbols in. Unpause when you're done. Okay, 3 is greater than -2. B, negative 2.5 is also bigger than -2.6. This one on the right would be a little bit further to the left on the number line. 4.9 recurring is 4.999, etc., 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 which means it's going to be bigger than 4.9. 1/3, well, that is equal to 0.3 0.3 recurring, you know, the 0.3333, etc., etc., etc. So that is going to be bigger than 0.3, just a little bit bigger. Negative a third and negative a half, right? Negative a half is negative 0.5, and negative a third is negative 0.3 recurring, which means that one is bigger than the half. Tricky one, that one. 5/13 and negative 7. Did you notice the negative in there? Yeah. And a positive's always going to be bigger than a negative. It's greater. All of those are actually greater than symbols. Okay, let's move on to something slightly different this time. We can represent inequalities on number lines. So let's give ourselves an inequality here. X is greater than or equal to -1, right? It's literally anything that's bigger than -1 or -1 as well. That's included in our list of numbers. And there's a little number line. Now, we need some kind of convention for our different signs. That means we need some rules here of how we're gonna draw this on. So anyone else in the world could read our maths and know what we mean. And so we use this. If it's less than or equal to or greater than or equal to, we use a filled-in circle, a closed circle. Okay. And if it's a less than or a greater than, we use an open circle. So the way I think of this, if you look at this, look, this symbol up here has got more ink in it. It's got a little bit more ink, which means more ink in my symbol. Yeah, it's filled in. Whereas this one doesn't have the extra line, so there's no extra ink down there. I'm going to change away from the red, I prefer the blue. So here's how we do it then. So look for the number on your number line. Now, -1 is there. So I put the circle above, the appropriate circle. So this is greater than or equal to. Because it's got the extra ink, my circle has the extra ink and it's filled in. And I put the arrow in the direction of where my numbers are. Now this is greater than -1, so I put my arrow going to the right. Okay, it's a filled in circle because it's greater than or equal to. That equal to means it's filled in. And because it's greater than -1, I put an arrow to the right, which is all the numbers that are greater than -1. Let's show you another couple. So x is less than 3. There's your number line. Firstly, put the proper circle in where x is 3. Well, x is 3 there on my number line. And because it's just less than, there's no extra ink here. So we have an open circle. Yeah, now x is less than 3. So we put the arrow going to the left because that's where all the numbers that are less than 3 live. Okay. What about this one? X is less than -2. Again, with your number line, identify where the number is. There we go, -2. And put the appropriate circle above. There's no extra ink on my sign. So I put an open circle and then arrow in the direction of my numbers. Now x is less than -2, so it's off to the left. Okay, have a go at a few of those. Here's, I think, 4 for you to do. Just have a go at these. Remember, identify where the number is, and put the appropriate circle and the arrow in the right direction. Unpause when you've done. And do sketch these out, please. Just draw a little number line. It doesn't need to have a lot of detail on it, but use a ruler, please. Okay, unpause when you're done. Okay, x is greater than or equal to 3. So identify where 3 is, which is there. And then put the appropriate circle above. Now this is greater than or equal to. There's extra ink on it, so I need extra ink on my sign. Let's put an arrow in the direction that we want them to. Now x is bigger than 3, bigger than or equal to 3, so the arrow goes to the right. It's not a very straight arrow, sorry. It's very hard to draw straight on here. Now x is less than -1, so there's -1. Draw the appropriate circle. Now this one's an open circle, and it's less than -1, so I go to the left. Now x is bigger than or equal to -2, so let's do that. There's -2. Draw the appropriate circle. Now this symbol had the extra ink on it of equals to, so I put the extra ink there and fill it in. And the arrow goes to the right because it's bigger than -2. Now x is bigger than 1, so identify where 1 is, put the appropriate circle. Now this time again it's an open circle because it doesn't have the extra ink. It doesn't actually include the number 1, it's just all the things bigger than 1. And because it's bigger, I put an arrow to the right. Okay then, so there's a few more for you to do. Come on, let's get some practice in. Pause the video, unpause when you're done. Okay, I've unpaused. I'm going to change the blue. I don't know why it's changed to red again. Okay, let's go for 2. So x is less than 2. I need an open circle and an arrow to the left because it's less than 2. X is less than or equal to -3. So identify -3. Put the appropriate circle, which should be filled in, and it's less than, so we go to the left. X is greater than 4, so let's find where 4 is. Let's put the appropriate circle. It's just greater than, so I put, greater than, yeah, so there's no equals to, so you put an open circle. And it's bigger than 4, so we go an arrow to the right. X is greater than or equal to -1, so let's find -1. Put the appropriate circle. Now this circle should be filled in. And it's greater than, so we go to the right. X is less than 5. Well, there's 5. Put an open circle and an arrow to the left because it's less than. X is bigger than or equal to 3, so identify where 3 is. Put a circle, and this time it should be filled in because of the extra ink. It includes the number 3. And an arrow to the right because it's greater than. And then x is less than 1, so let's identify where 1 is. Put the appropriate circle, which in this case should be open, because it doesn't actually include 1, just all the things less than 1. So arrow to the left, open circle. Cool, well done. Let's try this then. How about this time? Remember what our symbols mean. How about if we've got an inequality drawn on a number line, and I want to write out what it means. Well, first of all, look at what the number is. Now, this is 1, and it's filled in. So it's going to be the number 1. It's going to be x. Now, we're pointing toward the numbers that are bigger than that, so I put greater than, but because it's filled in, I put the extra line for equals to as well. Now you'll notice the difference here. The computer usually draws the line flat on the bottom. Usually most people when they're handwriting them, we'd put the line sort of parallel to the sign. So either like that for greater than or equal to, or like that for less than or equal to. But either of those is fine. Next one. Okay, well let's identify the number. That's -2. So I'm going to put x and -2, and it's less than, and it's not filled in, so I literally just put x is less than -2, just the sign, no extra line on there, because it doesn't actually include -2, just everything less than that. And this one, okay, identify the number, -1, and let's put, so x and -1, and it's all the numbers bigger than that. And I don't need the extra line because it's not a filled-in circle. It's basically anything bigger than -1, but it doesn't actually include the number, so it's an open circle. Cool. In which case, guess what? 4 more for you to try. Get some good practice in. Let's go. Pause and unpause when you're done. First thing to do on these is always just, if it's not written, identify what the number is. Now that's 3, and the arrow goes to the left, so it's x is less than 3, all the things smaller than 3, and no extra line because there's open circle there. Okay, this is 4, and again we can see it's pointing to the left, so it's less than, so x is less than 4, but because it is in the circle's filled in, it also includes 4 in that list, so x is less than or equal to 4. Identify the number, so 3, well -3. So x and -3, and actually x is bigger than -3. X is greater than -3. There's no extra ink though. The list of numbers doesn't include -3 itself, just everything bigger than that. And last one here, so that's 1. So x and 1, and the symbol we want here, because it's pointing to the right, we've got that x is greater than or equal to 1. You need the extra line because it's a filled-in circle. So the list of numbers is anything bigger than 1 or 1 itself. A few more for you to do then. So write down what these ones are, identify them, pause the video, unpause when you're done. You have unpaused, and here come the answers quite quickly this time because I think we've done a few of these. Firstly, x is greater than or equal to -2. Question 2, x is less than 1. Number 3, x is greater than -4. Number 4, x is less than or equal to 0. Number 5, x is greater than 2. Number 6, x is less than or equal to -1. 7, x is less than or equal to 3. 8 is x is greater than -2. And lastly, x is greater than or equal to 1. Cool, well done. I hope you got those. If not, maybe just have a quick look back at my explanation and just see maybe where you're going wrong. Otherwise, I think it's off to Dr. Frost to do some practice on that last task that we were doing, writing an inequality from a number line. Okay, there's a good 30 questions on there to do because I think they're quite quick once you get the hang of it. If you've got any problems, let me know. Otherwise, I'll keep an eye on your scores. Well done, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.